Here we go. Okay, welcome to the Bee's Knees and Hummers Hangout. This is just to give you some background as you see the sun is rising, to my prior work that I've done before taking on this project of a children's series to teach them about gardening, urban wildlife sanctuaries, and how pollinators are very important to our environment, to our food, even in an urban setting. This is a carport that I've set up with containers just a year ago, so these plants are very new, but they're doing quite well. This is an Arctic kiwi, this is a grape, and we have some trees, baby trees here. And it's just sunrise right now, so you'll see my shadow, but this is a container garden. What I teach people in their food gardens and their herb gardens that are either on their patios, these are just on some wooden crates, but what people can do is set up a very small garden that will attract wildlife. For instance, if they just had 3 of these containers on their patio, you would have a lot of peppers growing, and different forms of cilantro, basil. There's a lovely Savoy cabbage. So I do different demonstrations. There's a lovely dill and cilantro. And just to give you an idea. These are demonstration gardens. These are also gardens that you can hear the birds in the background. There's Rocky Mountain bee plant. Here are some older kale that have grown throughout the winter. Usually this is a covered cold frame. And they're starting to bolt, but I'll let them bolt and then I'll replant some other things. Here in the far area there's some oregano growing. I teach people sustainability. Here we have a few more rain barrels and garbage barrels. When it gets to be raining here, this is a hollyhock that has volunteered itself and has gone to seed, so we just let it go to seed. The birds can eat what they want to eat, or whatever animals, and then they reseed the ground. Here's a lot of volunteers from the original garden. That is hyssop that has just volunteered this year in this area and will start blooming pretty soon. Over here we have a humongous goji berry bush. Try to get it out of the sun. Let's see if I can find some goji berries on it. It was in full bloom with tons of berries for a while. It goes through 2 or 3 blooming. It's starting to bloom again. And there are some berries that the pollinators and the small birds haven't eaten quite yet. You can see some more orange ones there. Here's another close-up of that. There he goes. Isn't that gorgeous? Look at that. It has a bloom and it has the berries on it. This came from a tiny plant about that size. You see that small plant right there? I planted that 3 years ago, and without very much help, this is what we received. It's very, very large. Here is the side of the house where we have some red verbena that is still in blossom, and it also is all volunteer. That whole side is volunteer, and bee balm and lemon balm. Right over here we have some spent red verbena. In the 2011 shot, you'll see it. Here is some yarrow that is going to seed. It blossomed very early in the season. Here is some lovely hyssop. I have a few pictures of butterflies and hummingbirds on the hyssop. You can hear the birds going nuts. They're up in the higher trees looking at me like, get away so that we can eat and drink. I teach people how to provide water for different types of pollinators. This is for small pollinators. It's a little dish that's always kept with water. Right next to it are the volunteer bee balm, lemon balm. Also bee balm, lemon balm. Here's some more hyssop that has volunteered this year in this area. Basically, I just planted maybe 20 plants, and now I have a tremendously large garden. There are some coneflowers. There's the bird bath. There's some more yarrow. This is in what I call the meditation gardens. You see we have little chairs here. People can sit and relax and enjoy the pollinators, because if you become very, and some more Rocky Mountain bee plant. Some of these plants just showed up. Some of the areas I just leave dry, because what happens is the birds not only enjoy the water from the bird bath and stuff, but they enjoy nesting. Here is a nice rock plant that is going to start blossoming soon. So what you want to do is get a lot of your garden blossoming at different times. Here's a volunteer. This is Hopi tea right here. I have a few of those that came up in the garden this year. Here's another baby hyssop that decided to volunteer next to an area where birds can nest, below the pear tree. They love this pear tree. We all love this pear tree. It had to be trimmed up, so it's in a little bit of distress, in the sense that normally the pears are ripe by now, but it's taking its time, which is fine. When you garden, you learn flexibility. You teach kids flexibility. You teach kids sustainability. You teach people to honor the earth. You teach them where your food supply comes from. A lot of things you can teach from gardening. This is a sagebush that usually is buzzing with bees. We should have bees coming to it very soon again. You can see that a lot of the blossoms have already gone, but it is starting to blossom again. And as soon as the bees discover this thing will be humming. You can see that there's this little thing on the window. I have a very interesting story about that for some time. In any event, here's a bunch of lamb's ears. From one small plant comes a whole area inundated by lamb's ears, much to the hummers and to the wildlife's enjoyment. Here we have a lamb's ear that is still in blossom. They really enjoy the small blossoms too. This is comfrey that had some beautiful blossoms early in the season. Now we're coming to an area that is just starting to bloom again. Here is something called bubble mint. This area is the herb garden, and as you see, it's quite extensive. It goes all the way to the end. Right over here we have thyme. And through here we have spearmint. We have another, where is it? Those are strawberries. Here it is. There's another Rocky Mountain bee plant, some kinnikinick, which is a lovely ground cover. Spearmint and mints are wonderful ground covers. Here we have some coneflowers, spearmint, another wonderful type of sage, another lovely sage that had wonderful flowers. You can see that those are spent. Here's some coriander and some mint that is just starting to flower. And that small flat area is tarragon. Let's see if I can bring that up for you. Here you can see the wonderful parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Here is tarragon, waving the tarragon. Makes a nice ground cover. And that's all from one peppermint plant. This is coriander. It's a self-seeding. Cilantro, and here it is growing. And here is a lovely little, you see that tiny little flower right there. There it is. Beautiful, beautiful. Pollinator gardens. What I do when I have people come out, because it can get very overwhelming for them. I think, oh, all I have is a patio, or all I have is a small front yard, or I have a brown thumb. So I do container gardening, and I show them, look, all you need are a few containers. There's a Rocky Mountain bee plant, there's some thyme, or all you need is a small area of your garden to dedicate. There's some chives. And so you can have one lovely plant like this with small flowers, and maybe a combination of that and some lamb's ears. We're going to go out of the garden now. There's also another volunteer here, a horehound. Wonderful ground cover. And here's a lovely bee plant. Bee butterfly bush. If it wasn't so, oh well, there are a few bees on it, but they're so small. Our local bees are wonderful. That's another thing we teach children, is not to be afraid of insects, small animals. Particularly the local ones are very docile and won't harm you as long as you're not swatting at them. A lot of people swat at these insects. In any event, this gives you an idea of how I've created a garden. Oftentimes what I'll do is, if I invite people to the gardens, we'll come into this area that's set up like a yin-yang and sit around it. Here's, another chair, and we'll sit around and we'll talk. And there's some more bee balm, and we'll talk. Another volunteer hyssop. And we'll talk about what their possibilities are in their gardens, like that, And we talk about sustainability and how to collect water, because it's important to conserve water in the desert. Also, I let them know any volunteers I donate to garden clubs and things like that will to raise funds. Children have this is another area where a lot of water is collected. Also, I have a source where people can get rain barrels for free or for very inexpensive, and they're from recycled materials. They're usually recycled containers. Here are some things that I'm going to be using later on in the year. Whoopsie, I almost tripped. Later on in the year, that are just stored right there. Again, also there's a bunch of hay that I use later on in the year when it gets cold, to shore up some of the plants so they don't get cold. This is part of the pear tree that needed to be cut down, and so I'm going to be using that wood soon again. Here's again part of what I want to call the experimentary part of the gardens. Then also some more water collection. Because we have a monsoon season, what happens is we'll get a lot of water all at once, and so I bring out as many garbage pails as I can to collect the water. I teach people how not to gather mosquitoes, things like that gather in water. There is a certain way to do water containment without that. Here's some verbena. Oh no, valerian, sorry. The valerian. And another great water area. Here are some baby plums that may not be ready. I'm not sure if they're ready yet. No. And another area. I'm going to be giving you other files where you will see posters and things that are designed for the presentations. There will be files that you can download. Once you donate certain amounts of money, that'll be designed. A budget will be there. You know, children do not have a very long attention span, and so I'll be writing books. I wrote a curriculum for children, for particularly special education children, and it was very successful. It had a booklet to it, a workbook, a DVD. So I'm hoping that I will receive enough funds to do a very professional and excellent first volume and first DVD introduction with characters, introducing concepts for primary school, particularly aimed at second, third, fourth, fifth graders type of a age bracket. And of course it can be used for younger children. There are a lot of books about gardening for younger children and older children. There aren't a lot of books for that age bracket. It's an in-between age bracket. Some goji berries in the sun. So I'll be explaining it more in some other documentation. Thank you for viewing my videos. There are some videos from 2011 with my dogs. Oops! Oh my goodness, we have a Roadrunner. Can you see the Roadrunner? There's wildlife in action. There he goes. Da, 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 da. Do you see him? Did I get him? There he is. We have a Roadrunner. Look at the corner right now, and he's going to be going for some berries. He's enjoying some things right there. Wow. For a great finale, isn't that wonderful? We have the state bird, pose baby pose, of a Roadrunner. And you can see him. There he goes. There he goes. And he's checking everything out. Oftentimes, if you sit very still in the gardens, I'm just going to follow the Roadrunner till the end. I think it's a wonderful ending and a serendipitous ending to have the state bird looking around the gardens. It's too bad we don't have the hummingbirds humming around, but usually they don't come until a little bit later in the day and late afternoon. Oh, he's hiding in the bushes over here. So anyway, welcome to the Bees, Knees, and Hummers Hangout and other small... Oh, there he is. He's on the bench. He's doing a great pose on the bench, if you can see him there. Don't want to get too close. Up there he is in the bushes. But anyway, thank you for watching this video, and adios for now. Aloha nui loa, and we'll be talking again soon.